right now. So we do have a lot of people that did register in different time zones, etc., as I touched on earlier. So welcome if you're watching this video. And I'll be running the chat as well. So if you do have any questions at all, or if there's some handy links and stuff that I can pop up, please just put your questions in the chat box, and I'll make sure they get to Marc at the end or during the presentation as we go. Now, of course, this session's all about team leaders, and anyone who runs a contact center knows how important team leaders are, right? I always say they're the most important role in the contact center. You can have the best manager in the world, you can have the best systems in the world, best building in the world, but if you've got terrible team leaders, you are really going to struggle. And so we're really excited to do this webinar with you today with Marc Carriere, and Marc is the guru of all things team leaders in contact centers. You know, like myself, I do a lot of consulting and I do a lot of training, but I'm a jack of all trades. And what I love about Marc is he specializes in that call center space. So if there's something about call centers, Marc's been there, done that, but I'll get him to tell you a bit about his experience. Enjoy the session. As I said, any questions at all, just pop them in the chat. Otherwise, Marc, over to you.
Well, thank you, Justin. I appreciate the opportunity. And hello, everybody. I'm so happy to have you here with us today. I'll just see about sharing my screen, and I'll put the, now, there we go. I'll share my screen. I just need to find, there we go. Okay.
Beautiful.
There we go. Is that, everybody see that all right? Perfect. Okay. So again, hello, everyone. I'm Marc Carriere, and I want to welcome you to this workshop today. And we're going to be going for 20, 30 minutes. It could be longer. I mean, if you've got questions, Justin and I'll stay here until every question's answered, and we can take it from there. But, you know, before the training ends, I'm going to reveal to you the 15 essential habits of amazing team leaders for any call center environment, in my view. Now, you know, creating amazing team leaders, you know, it takes a lot of work, and it's certainly not easy. But the surprising thing is that it's not as hard as you know, people might think it is, especially if you have your team leaders taking these 15 habits on board and applying them every single day. And I promise, if your team leaders do this within a few months, senior managers and team members particularly, I mean, they're going to notice a huge improvement, and they're going to start recognizing these people as you know, really tremendous tremendous leaders. And I bet that sounds good, doesn't it? Eh? Would you guys all like that? Yeah, I can see Jennifer nodding her head. My goal is at the end of the workshop, you're going to learn exactly that. And if so, then, you know, this training would have been a success. And I just want to mention, too, that I don't know that Justin mentioned it, but I'm also going to provide my email address at the end. So if you want copies of this slide deck, you know, just send me an email, mention that you saw me here on the workshop, and I'd be more than happy to send it to you. If you have any further questions after, you know, feel free to ask them there as well. And now, guys, if you've got your mobile phone out, if I can ask you, or Skype or Facebook on, or anything like that, if you don't mind, would you shut it down, because you really need to pay attention. We're going to be covering a lot today, and if you got these things up distracting you, you're not going to get the full benefit of this, okay? Now, just to tell you a little more about myself, you know, Justin was very kind with his introduction, but you know, I've spent the last, 35 years now honing my call center experiences in the trenches, managing marketing departments with small to large call center operations, you know, up to 176 seats with 2-3 shifts going on all the time. So, you know, a lot of moving parts, 300 staff running around, 13 direct reports and things like that. So, you know, I've got experience in that. I spent a lot of time consulting with small and large businesses, coaching and mentoring their call center managers and their team leaders, help them become, you know, more effective. I've spoke at international conferences, and actually this year I was pleased to be asked to be a judge at for the national or annual awards for a large international call center association. So that was pretty exciting. And having owned a call center myself and running call centers where, we've won call center of the year, and I've coached staff that have won call center manager of the year and telemarketer of the year, I can tell you, I'm certainly aware of the success habits of amazing team leaders. And, I got to tell you, I've seen a lot of things done right, and I've seen a lot of things done wrong. And, after doing this over the years, I figured out that there are 15 essential habits that amazing team leaders have. And the first habit is knowing their numbers. And what you'll find is amazing team leaders are obsessive when it comes to knowing their numbers in terms of their goals, where they sit with that in their KPIs, and not just the team, but also individual team members. And but one of the things I got to point out is more often than not, you find that there's a lot of team leaders that don't have any access to reports at all, or what they do is that there's a variety of different reports, and they've got to go access all these different things and pull them together into one central spot for themselves. And the problem with that is they don't do it for very long. It just gets too hard. And on the flip side of that, you do get some companies, and these are pretty rare, but they have way too much information. And, the team leader can get lost in that. So what you really need to do is to have a automated system that provides them with the key numbers on the metrics and the KPIs that are extremely important for them to keep on, and not just with their team, but also with, the overall team, but the individual team members as well. So it's easier for them to identify who's performing and who's not, and they can drill down deeper, to go from there. So, probably the thing you don't want to do is have them rely on a whiteboard, for their reporting. The next thing is setting expectations. And, team leaders are the coach and the mentor, and they set expectations for the team early and often on, key performance indicators and metrics and things like that. They also set expectations on what the team can expect from them in terms of, coaching or extra training, or, being a cheerleader and celebrating achievements. But the important thing that amazing team leaders do is they set expectations and goals that are fair and reasonable, and they hold people accountable to. The thing you got to remember with the team, and I'll give you an example. Let's say, the goal for the week for the team is to deliver 100 of X. And typically what a lot of team leaders will do, or are told what will happen, is, divide that 100 by 5 days, by 5 shifts. We got 20 a day. You've got 10 operators. That means everybody's got to deliver 2 a day, 2 per shift. But the problem with that is that most teams, you probably have 30 to 40 or even 50% of the team aren't achieving the minimum standard. And a lot of the reason for that is because they're actually new, to the organization or to the team, and they're still developing and things like that. So what amazing team leaders do is they apply what we call stretch goals. So assuming that, 2's the target for the day, and you've got 30, 40% of your team that have struggled to even get 1, there's no point in saying to them that they've got to get 2, because you've got others that are hitting 2 easily, and 3, and maybe even 4 on some days. So what you do with these folks is you set a target for them to say, look, your goal is 1. I mean, we want you to do 2, but I'm only going to expect you to do 1 because you're still developing and you're still learning. Fair enough. And you get them to commit to that. Others that are hitting 2, you can say, look, I want you to average 2.5. So, maybe you're going to deliver 7.5 by the end of the week. Those that are hitting 3 or 4, you give them a stretch goal too. And if anybody's whining about, how come I got to do more? Amazing team leaders just pander to their ego and say, well, because you're that much better. So, if you're working team goals that way, you're going to notice that the aggregate of what you need to deliver as a team leader is likely to come up. So the other important thing, as I said earlier, was they hold them accountable to it, because if teams don't have fair and reasonable goals and they're not held accountable for achieving those goals, they don't even try. Or if they think, if I'm not accountable, nobody really cares, so why should I? The next habit is walking the talk. And amazing team leaders remember that they are the role model that their team members will try to emulate. So they walk the talk, and they do that by jumping into the queue if there's inbound queues, when the team is inundated with calls, and helping out there, or getting on the phone and making calls. Because what they want to do is they want to keep in touch with the experience that their team members are having, to see if there's any challenges in terms of the processes or the call guides and different things like that. They also behave in a professional and friendly manner. I mean, they walk the talk, so they demonstrate the behaviors that they want their team members to follow as well. That means, they actively listen. They take the time to hear what their team members are saying to them, and they're open to suggestions. They don't have to follow through at every suggestion, but they're open to listening to the suggestions and getting people to really understand that, yes, I hear you, and I'm taking what you're saying on board. And the reason they do that is because they want their staff to be open and actively listen to any suggestions or training or coaching that they do. So if they're not behaving that way, how can they expect their team to behave that way as well? The next habit they do is all about clearing roadblocks. Amazing team leaders, they want to find out what's getting in the way of their team achieving their goals and doing a really great job. And so, excuse me. So, and once they find something that's not going really well, they try to fix it. And for those issues that they can't fix, they let the team know why that issue can't be fixed, because they know that if the team understand the reason why something can't be fixed, they're more likely to accept it and just move on from there. Okay, and by fixing or even just trying to fix issues, and the team are aware of that, they earn a lot of respect from their team members, because they know that they're invested in their success. And, because of that, earning a lot of respect, it's even if they can fix an issue or not. The next habit is helping team members be great. And, amazing team leaders remember how scary it was when they first joined and got on the phones themselves, and how unsure they were, and, when they got started. And they know that they needed a lot of feedback and reassurance, and get constantly feedback, especially in the beginning. So, they evaluate their team members' efforts often. They listen to calls, they score those calls, they provide constructive feedback to give support and reassurance. And, a lot of them evaluate not just through the reports and scoring and calls, but, they actually do a lot of regularly do skills audits, which you don't see a lot happening in call centers around the world, I'll tell you. So, they might do that about every 3 months, and they go through everything, through every team member, and they identify all the things that they need help with. Habit 6 is effectively onboarding new hires. And when a new hire first joins and they're going through training, or come out of training rather, the first thing amazing team leaders do is they go back to the training team and they talk about their new hires. They want to get a sense of what the new hire was good at, what they demonstrated in the training, what areas the trainer thinks it's going to need some help with. They want to check on, their attendance. They want to check on their attitude and how they behaved and interacted within the training, with the trainer, and also with the other people that they were training with. They want to get a sense of who they've got coming out into their team, and what work that they probably have to be aware of that they want to look at doing. And what they also do is they ease a new hire, a new team member into the team by having them partner up with somebody who's a little more experienced and, basically giving them a few shifts so they can listen and watch and ask questions, with that person. And actually, a lot of people, they're funny. They think, well, the trainer's going to tell me something, but the person's actually doing the job going to tell me the truth. So when they're, hearing, things that they learned in training that's reinforced by somebody on the phone, that tends to stick with them more. And, the other thing too is it gives them a chance to, ease into the team and build connections with other people on the team. Habit 7 is getting extra help. And, all team leaders know that, they're really good at some things, but they're not that great at other things. They may be really great at handling calls, but they may not be that fantastic with some of the systems or, some of the processes or some of the product knowledge. And so when they see a gap and they know that they're not that great at it, they're confident enough within themselves that, they'll reach out to somebody in the training team or quality assurance team to ask them to come in to do any special one-on-one training, or if it's a group training on systems, for example, get somebody in there to go over it with everybody at the same time. They realize that, you don't have to be an expert at everything, although over time they do become experts in a lot of things. They have the confidence to reach out to get the help when they need it. The other habit is managing absenteeism, and amazing team leaders work on managing absenteeism every day, and because they see it as a tripwire. It's like a warning to tell them if somebody might be looking at leaving. And apart from being concerned for their team members' welfare and their duty of care to them, they see this as a great opportunity to fix a problem that may be affecting the whole group. So they want to make sure that, if there's something going on with one person, it's not something that is affecting other people within the team as well. And, absenteeism isn't solely related to people that have lost interest in their job. I mean, a lot of people have other reasons. It could be as simple as, somebody's having trouble getting to work because there was a change to a schedule in the bus routes or the trains or something like that. And, it could be an easy fix, as simple as, finding somebody in the call center who, drives to work, and they can share, get them a lift to go. And, that sort of thing. It's very simple. Are there any other senses of absenteeism that some of you have run through that, are very simple, easy to fix? Jennifer, have you gone through anything like that or seen anything like that before?
I would say that attendance is one of the biggest issues for my team. So we've had a little bit of everything from people having issues with cars, issues with horrible domestic violence stuff. Literally you name it, we've had it here. And sometimes it is simple, and then other times it's incredibly complicated. So I don't know, we've kind of seen it all, but it still is a prevalent issue.
Yeah. Well, when you consider all the time and energy you put into developing the team, you lose somebody, how long does it take you to recruit and train and get them back to a level where they were really good? That sort of thing. So you really got to be looking at that. Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing. Habit 9 is showing that they care. Amazing team leaders develop a high level of emotional intelligence, and they can constantly show they care by being genuinely interested in their team members' lives, both inside and outside of work. And they do that, for instance, by celebrating birthdays, celebrating work milestones like work anniversaries, or celebrating promotions, within the center and things like that. So, being genuinely interested, they even show interest by knowing the names of their partners, and their kids, and what are the things, their hobbies, and what are they interested in, and things like that. So, they show genuine interest, not just about work, but outside of work too. And that helps them develop good connections, with people. Excuse me. Habit 10 is recognizing good effort. They know that genuine recognition and appreciation for hard work, even if somebody didn't hit a target, but they worked their butts off to get there, is extremely important. And, they want to have the recognition because part of the psychology is it helps to reinforce the behaviors or the outcomes that you're looking, but also adds to, in a positive way. Oftentimes, I don't know about you folks, but over the years, walking around the world in call centers, oftentimes, I'll start before I do consulting with them and I'll watch and see what's going on. And quite often what I see more often than not is team leaders walking around trying to find people doing something wrong. Because if somebody's doing something wrong, then I can fix it. But the problem is, if you're walking around trying to find people doing something wrong all the time, what does that do to the group? It provides a more of a negative environment rather than a positive environment, and you get people looking over their shoulders and wondering what the hell, the team leader's doing and where they're going next and who's going to get reamed out. What I always recommend, and amazing team leaders do, they spend more of their time trying to find people doing something right. This is part of them being a cheerleader. And when they're walking around their team during a shift, if they hear something that they worked on in training with somebody, they can reinforce that by saying, Brody, great job. I heard how you tried to handle that objection. Although you didn't get them, you really worked hard and appreciate that. Good on you. Or Jennifer, you finally got that second booking in that hour. I knew you could do it. Great job. And the thing is, their praise is genuine. One thing you got to be careful about is, getting too excited and praising. Some people are thinking, oh my God, what are they on? So, it's got to be genuine, and it's got to be there to reinforce that, that behavior, to have it occur again. So, I always recommend, certainly you got to pick people up if things aren't going right, but there's ways to do that and how you do it, but get the team leaders spending most of their time, get them to schedule at least an hour a day, between 10 and 11, all I'm going to do is find people doing something right. Between 2 and 3, all I'm going to do is find people doing something right. You do that and they get into the habit of doing that, you're going to be amazed at how that changes the dynamic within the team, just in a few weeks. Just extraordinary change. Habit 11 is keeping their team close. And, for the better part of the shift, team leaders manage their team by walking around, but it never ceases to surprise me how many team leaders have a desk. You give a team leader a desk and they have to sit there, the whole damn time. I mean, call centers that I go to, what I recommend they do is get rid of the team leader's desk and have team leader hot desks where they can go if they need to get onto a computer and things like that, because a lot of people end up sitting behind their desk waiting for the team to come to them. It's just ridiculous. They need to get out there and practice what I've got up there, what I call MBWA. Actually, has anybody heard that term before, MBWA? The story behind it? No? Actually, that's attributed to David Packard, from one of the co-founders of Hewlett-Packard, back in the 40s. You guys have heard of Hewlett-Packard, I'm sure? Yep, actually, I've got my laptop's a Hewlett-Packard. Anyway, the story goes that, David Packard would leave his office every day. And, managers and his co-partners saying all he was doing was walking around bumming smokes from the staff and goofing off. But what he was doing is he'd go and he'd walk around and, he would talk to people and say, you know, how's it going? I understand your son was doing some sport thing, you know, how did that go? And what about you? You know, he'd know their hobbies. He'd ask him how that was going. And, you know, he'd say, you know, how's things here on the floor? You know, do you need any help with anything? Is the equipment running right? Do you need anything? And because he was established these connections, people would be open to him and they would tell him what was actually going on, you know, rather than just keep it to themselves because they thought, oh, you know, if I you know, bring something up, I'm going to throw somebody under the bus, or, you know, he's going to think I'm criticizing or whatever. And he established that relationship. People could be open. I mean, you know, if you're a team leader and there's a problem going on, you want to know about it as soon as possible, don't you? So, you know, practicing management by walking around, great opportunity to, you know, find people doing things right. But, you know, it's a great opportunity to give little tips and suggestions, quick little training ideas, things like that with people. So if you get a lot of team leaders, just understand that amazing team leaders don't sit at their desks. You know, that's for after when the shift's done. Now, another, excuse me, is being prepared. Oftentimes, pretty much every time I've consulted and worked with call center leaders, and certainly call center managers and team leaders, you know, one of the first questions I ask them when we sit down is, you know, do you think you do enough coaching and training? And most of them, if not all, say, oh, geez, yeah, you know, not really. You know, I wish I could, but I just can't find the time. And, you know, when you dig down deep and you look at what they are doing, you find that a lot of activities that they do are not related to their core purpose. You know what I mean? Their core purpose is to make sure that their teams are working as effectively as possible. And that means that they're developing their team, they're training them, they're upskilling them, you know, they're motivating them, and they're staying on top of them. And then, you know, typically what you find is a lot of tasks and duties that somehow got flipped to them from somebody else that would be better done by somebody in admin or in HR, you know? So what amazing team leaders do is they extricate themselves from all these non-core functions and, you know, non-essential things that they have to do, like admin or emails or reports. They actually do those outside of peak calling times. So what they do instead is that they look at their schedules and they schedule time for call monitoring and scoring, you know, or even silent monitoring. You know, they say the bottom third of their team, those people that need that help, and they do that so they can do the research to figure out where people are having challenges. Because you know what it's like, nobody really understands that they're having a problem unless they hear themselves on a recording. And if a team leader can score that, now they understand, okay, here's some things that we need to work with. So they can provide feedback sessions to them, let them hear the tape, you know, they can understand where the problem is, or, you know, if it is a quick fix, look after that. But if they need to schedule a time later, they have time set aside for training and coaching to spend one-on-one time with these people. Okay, so that's something that amazing team leaders do. I mean, what I challenge you guys to do is go back and see how your team leaders are spending their time. Ask them if they have a schedule. Ask them to show you which people that they've been working with this week, you know, in a formal sense. And I think you're going to find that you're going to be disappointed, but not if you've got amazing team leaders, I promise. Habit 13 is effective pre-shift meetings. This is another one of my bugbears. I don't know how many times, and you know, I'm curious to know how many of you have seen the same thing where you've got a team leader and, you know, you have a huddle before the shift gets going and all of a sudden, you know, they're racing in to the meeting because they've just finished the smoke or, you know, they've just got to work or something like that. And they, you know, started reaming the team because, you know, somebody kicked their butt because they've been falling behind. And so they just go into, you know, what everybody's doing wrong and we've got to do better. And don't you, you know, you guys got to pick it up and things like that. Or, you know, they feel the need for an impromptu training session. So they go on for 20 or 30 minutes. You know, oftentimes I've seen call center managers come in and do the same thing. And of course, that's the wrong time. You know, a pre-shift meeting is for you to do a checkup, what I call a checkup from the neck up. You're there to help get the people's minds prepared for the shift. You know, it's positive, it's 5 to 10 minutes. You know, it's a time to certainly tell people where you're tracking. And of course, if you guys are ahead of, where you should be in that week, well, that's fantastic. If you're behind, certainly mention it, but you don't necessarily have to brag people on it. You know, those that are really doing well don't need to hear that. You know, you pull those other people that aren't performing aside later after the meeting. And, you know, a great time to share any updates or information on processes or systems that, you know, people need to know. And also a great time if, to give shout outs for people that have been doing a great job or hand out any awards, you know, things like that.
Marc, can we just ask a quick question about those
sure.
those pre-shift meetings? Is it something that people should do every day, or is it something that you do once a week? What's your feedback on that?
I think it really depends on the team. Personally, I think it should be done every day. You know, you've got to, you know, people have a lot on their minds that they're bringing in to work. You know, a lot of these people have things going on at home. They got things going on in their lives. You want to do something to help them flush all of that out, help them target on what we're here to do today. Because, you know, most shifts are what? Anywhere from 4 to 6 hours, or, you know, some people do 8-hour shifts, but generally they're about 6 hours. So, you know, what we need to do is get the most we can out of people during that time. You know, it's a good time too to say, look, you know, what's your goal for today? What are you going to do? You know, and oftentimes you get people think that they want you to tell them lots. So they tell you, oh yeah, I'm going to do this. And they go, well, look, that's not realistic. Why don't we scale that back and you're going to give me 2 of these today, or 3 or whatever, right? Can you do that? Are you going to do that? Yes. Get them to commit to what they're going to do. And then off you go. But, you know, if you need to have bigger meetings, Justin, you know, because there's been a major change in a process or in the system, you know, definitely get everybody as a group, you know, not these huddles with each team. That's what I would do, and do a big one and allot the time for that. Okay, any other questions along those lines? No, clear as mud.
Keep going. Keep going.
Okay, so habit 14 is learning why a team member quit, and this is very similar to managing absenteeism. But, you know, as I said earlier, considering all the time and energy that's been invested in a team member, particularly a high performer, you know, you want to know why they're leaving. You know, I mean, it could be a good reason, but, you know, maybe it's something that could be an easy fix, you know, or maybe it's a very serious issue that somebody in HR needs to be aware of and handle, you know. And, you know, maybe it could be just something as simple as, you know, and I've seen this before, you know, pre-COVID, and we're all the work from home, where you have one of your top operators is moving from Australia to New Zealand because their partner got a new job. So they're, you know, or their mother was sick, so they're moving home, you know, to be with the family. And, you know, these days, I guess in the last 18 months, we've all realized that, you know what, work from home can work. You know, so if somebody's prepared to do the hours that you want, and you have the systems for them to do it, and they can do and perform well from home, it doesn't matter where they are. They could be anywhere. You know, and we've all learned that in the last 18 months for sure in this industry. So, you know, it could be a simple problem, but, you know, you want to know why they're leaving. And if it's a big problem, you want to get on it as early as possible. Work with the management team to see if you can stop other people from leaving. And habit 15 is investing in their personal development. amazing team leaders want to grow. They want to continuously get better. They want to upskill themselves. A lot of them have ambitions to, have other opportunities open to them. So, they take advantage of any training opportunity or seminar that the company provides. They get their hands on as many books and videos on YouTube or attend seminars like this one, or that they can, to learn more that they can. They also speak with the senior managers and other team leaders and people to get recommendations and suggestions from them. And they also join call center associations and communities like CX Central to take advantage of the articles and the different trainings that are available there too. So they always want to grow. And I'll tell you, the quicker that a team leader adopts all of these habits and applies them every day, the easier their job is going to become, and the quicker they'll be recognized as an amazing team leader. Now, I guess it's time for me to ask you for some feedback. Would you agree that everything we've covered has been good? I mean, are you that excited? I haven't seen Brody jumping up and down, but I can tell inside he's really excited by all these things, aren't you, bro? That's all right. I'm just kidding. Of course, you can't cover everything in a 30-minute training, workshop. Even if we had all day, we couldn't do all of that. And just a reminder, I've got a slide coming up with the my email address, so you can email me to get this slide deck if you want. But I thought, now would be a good time if there's any questions that people have, Justin, or anything that people would like to ask. It'd be a good time to catch them up with that right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Has anyone got some questions they want to ask? I've got a couple that have come through, but does anyone want to ask them on video? Now's your chance.
I've got a quick question.
Go
So what do you find is some of the best motivating or incentivizing tools within a team, whether that be like bonus system or time off, or what kind of, I guess, bonus or motivation tools have you found to really work in the past?
Well, I'll tell you, short answer is whatever that drives them. Whatever drives them is important. I'll tell you, one of the best reward and recognition programs I've ever seen, something that we developed years ago. And this was, pre-internet, the way in the e-stores and things like that. And what I did was I went to the local Clive Anthony's. They're not here anymore, but think of like a Harvey Norman's or a big Nordstrom's or something if you're overseas. I don't know about Europe, so I apologize for the people there, but they had a catalog. So I got their catalog, and what I did was I gave every single item in the catalog a telemarketing dollar value. Okay, and so the idea was, because we had a little budget every month, and so we created these telemarketing dollars, and we only issued as many dollars as fit the budget that we had, so we didn't overspend. Okay, and we looked at all the areas that we wanted to promote, like best operator of the day, or highest sales if it was tele sales, and things like this. Most improved, best for the week, the month, quarter, things like that. And, we distributed the dollars. We made them up, and, we had CEOs face on some of the dollars and different staff and people like that. And so the team leaders had these to hand out on a daily basis. And so when anybody collected as many dollars as they needed to access one of the items in the catalog, they would come to us and say, okay, here's my whatever. And, with the items in the catalog, we might give it, if it was $100, we might work it out, it was $300 or $400 telemarketing dollars. Okay. So what happened then was they would hand that in. We'd phone the people up and say, look, here's a credit card. We're going to buy that. So can you deliver it to so-and-so? And I mean, I had people who, I remember one gal, she ended up getting a refrigerator because that's what she really wanted. Another one got a dishwasher. One person got business cards, if you can. God knows why a telemarketer would want business cards, but they did. Another one got a briefcase. I don't care. And what we did, you know, at the end of the year, we rolled this into our end of the year party because we had an auction. Whatever money hadn't been spent, because we saved up, you know, the money through the months, we would go out and we would buy all the different things that they told us that they really wanted. And we had a big display of all these things, and we set that up about 2-3 weeks before, you know, and there was like big screen TVs and computers and all these type of things. And at our end of year party, we would have an auction, you know, and we typically get a senior manager, a CEO to conduct the auction. And you couldn't believe how wild these things got. You know, you had people that, you know, just excited, and everybody had so much fun. And then at the end of the year, the start of the new year, slates run clean because you couldn't spend the dollars to carry them over to the new year. And I got to say, that's probably the best. Another one that I've seen that works really well, if you don't want to go to that extent, go buy scratchy cards. You know, $1 or $2, $3 scratchy cards, and give those out. You know, best operator, whoever does X, Y, Z. I mean, I've seen people scratch off $300. And you can imagine how excited everybody gets seeing that happen. So, you know, those are a couple of ideas, a big one and a small one. Can't hear you, Justin.
Sorry, hit the mute button. There's about, I reckon there's about 10 articles on CX Central on how to reward agents, different programs and stuff. I posted one there in the comments, but there's literally about 10 other articles there. So you'll find heaps of ideas and suggestions there as well. So hopefully that helps you. Marc, another question. You mentioned earlier in the presentation about it's really important for team leaders to know their numbers. I can't remember what point it was, but it was earlier in. What to give the guys some ideas, what are some of the reports that they should be looking at? We know there's no shortage of numbers in call centers, but have you got some tips you can share there?
Yeah, I think the thing is, you know, the old adage is keep people's minds on the things you want. So, you know, like I said earlier, there's a myriad of different reports you can pull together, but what you want to do is keep it succinct. You know, what are the key things you want your people to keep an eye on? You know, what are the team leaders going to keep their eye on? Now, that could be, you know, call answering time. Excuse me, if it's telesales, you know, how many sales per operator hours? If it's appointments, how many appointments per operator hour or per shift or whatever? You know, whatever is particular to your organization. Could be, you know, in telesales could be average sales value. Again, in sales, it could be upgrades. You know, different things like that are key to the performance and the profitability of the company. You know, those are the things that I think, and you know, keep it to 4 or 5 main things is what I'd recommend. You know, things that they can tie into training, and things that they can affect, you know, with their team members.
Awesome, thank you. I'm sure we could spend a whole webinar on what reports and targets to look at for agents. So there's a little bit of a taster. Now, one more question, Marc, before we sort of try and wrap this up for everyone and let them know where they can go to next. Where is it? Just got to get it. What's the best way to set individual goals for team members?
Well, yeah, I talked a bit about that earlier, and I'm a big fan of setting stretch goals, you know, and the whole idea is, you know, if somebody's new, you know, if that was their first day, their first shift, you know, would we really expect them to hit the minimum, you know, required thing for standard operators? You know, there's no way. So if you're a team leader and you got 3 new hires that just joined your team, it's the first shift, their first week, are you going to say, okay, everybody's got to do 2 an hour, and you guys are new, you're going to do 2? Doesn't make sense, does it?
Yep, sure. Awesome. Okay. How can people learn more, Marc? Tell us all about it. Upsell them.
Well, actually, it's my turn to ask a question. Well, we've done questions here. Want the easy way to create amazing team leaders? I mean, earlier, Justin at the beginning mentioned that we had some courses here, and of course I've got a course too. But what I want, if you don't mind, is take a few minutes to tell you a little bit about that, and you guys can decide if it's for you or not. First course I've got. I've created a course called Creating Amazing Team Leaders, and there's 2 ways that you can access that. One is option one's a self-paced online course. It comes with 8 modules and 14 lessons. There's 17 resources, tools, and templates that you can customize specifically to your call center needs. There's also 15 bonus micro training videos that give extra tips and suggestions on trainings for team leaders and coaching team leaders. And this course is available for 6 months. You can go back anytime you want. The great thing about that is you can do it at your own pace. I mean, if you wanted to spend the whole weekend and not gouge on Netflix, but gouge on this, you could do that and have everything ready and out you go that week. But what I recommend what people do is, spend a 1 week for a module, do the lessons in the module, take the resources, customize them to your needs, and then roll it out the following week. As you're rolling it out, then work on the next module, and you keep going. And next thing you know, inside 2 months, you've got everybody trained up, all your team leaders trained up, and now you get the foundations and the basis, and then you can refer back to that all the time. So you're all singing off the same hymn sheet. Also, for those that wanted more help, more of my help particularly, we also have a live online training program where I walk you through each of the lessons. We do 2-hour training sessions each week for over 4 weeks. And I answer any of your questions. We go through the trainings. You see how I do the training, so you can replicate that as well. We go through your resources and help you put those together for your teams. And I should mention too, if you take this option, I also throw in the self-paced course, so you have that as well. And I think that's what's that, a $1,500 value or something like that. But
bargain.
Don't worry. Justin's twisted my arm on that. He almost broke it. So if you take this link, and just you might want to put the links in the
already done, mate. So the links are there in the chats, so people can go and have a look at that.
Just go and check them out. And if you decide to go with the option 2, the live online training, just make sure you use the discount code for that. You'll find with the online self-paced, Justin's already got that in the tie-up in there. So, when you get to the cart area, just make sure you use the discount code and you'll get 20% off for the live training. And here's my email address. So if you'd like a copy of this, by all means, send me an email. Remind me that you were here today, and I'll be more than happy to send it to you. And if you got any other questions, by all means, feel free to ask.
Speaking of other questions, I do have another question that's just come through. So we've got a couple of minutes, so I'm going to ask that question. If anyone else has got any other questions, please just flick them through to me now in the comments. So
if you have any questions on the course, happy to answer them. Also,
that too. So the question is, thanks, Michael, for sending it in. What's your opinion on adding attendance to a reward and recognition program? E.g., no sick days equals X amount of points, or you've had 1 sick day, we take points off, 2 sick days, we get less points, etc.
Yeah, I think I've seen it done, and I don't have a big problem with it. I think the thing is, what we've got to be looking at, are people sick or are they sick of work? And if they're sick of work and that's why they're not attending, then you've got a bigger problem. Why is it that people aren't showing up? Is it the environment? Is it the type of work? Is it the way they're being treated? Not everybody's sick, and like I say, were they sick? Are they sick of work? But, if they're generally sick, of course, you want them to go see a doctor and get a doctor's certificate, make sure that whatever they've got, they're not passing it on to everybody, quite apart from the COVID days, we don't want people passing on the flu or something else. So if they're sick, I think we have an expectation that they should come to work ready to work. So I think that's part of you doing your job, quite frankly. And I don't know that you need to reward people for doing their job. I think you could probably look at other ways to reward them. And maybe you have a weekly or a monthly award, best overall performer, and these things count to that, that sort of thing, tie it together with something else. That'd be my recommendation.
Yep, nice one. Thank you. All right, well, no more questions. So Marc, thank you so much for giving up a bit of your time. And of course, thank you to everyone for giving up your time. I know what it's like trying to squeeze any moments into a day when you run a contact center. There's always a million things going on. So you've done well just to take a bit of time out and hopefully pick up a few little skills that you'll literally apply straight away back into your workplace. Just a reminder, jump on CX Central or CX Skills. There's so much free information in there. As I said, we're not trying to sell you anything. There's just so much information to help you. Of course, CX Skills courses will cost you some money, but we'd like to think they're all really good value. If there's other ideas for webinars that you'd like to see, we're happy to talk on anything, whether it's myself or Marc or all the other experts that we've got helping us. Just let us know, drop me an email and or send us a LinkedIn message or whatever it might be, and we're happy to run these webinars. They're really here just to help everyone learn, because we know that when you're running a call center, often people just grow up in the call center and you don't have a network to call upon, and that's what these things are for, help you build your own networks and hear from other people that have done a little bit of the been there and done that. So yeah, thanks everyone for joining. If you do want a copy, it will be available. I will put it on our YouTube channel as well, and actually I'll put that link in there if anyone wants it now. And of course you can just email Marc and he'll send you a copy as well. So thanks for joining us. Have a wonderful rest of the afternoon or evening for our New Zealand counterparts, and look forward to seeing you on another webinar soon.
Thanks so much for coming, guys. I really appreciate your time, and I hope you found it useful. Thanks so
Awesome.
much.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.